and a team whose members work or telecommute from home. So this is a prime example right here. We're a virtual team. I'm the instructor, you all are the students, we're a virtual team, okay? If you work in a healthcare setting, because of the pandemic, we're doing a lot of remote care. There's a lot of telehealth. And so that is another example of a virtual team. Okay, if you look at page 153, we're going to talk a little bit about working with your supervisor. Okay, so we always have to have a boss, and we have to respect the boss. Okay, what is a supervisor? Well, if you look at the top of page 153, it says a supervisor is an employee whose key responsibility is to ensure that the employee is being supervised, sometimes called the supervisor's direct reports or subordinates. I don't really care for that word though, subordinates. Produce the assigned amount of work on time and within acceptable levels of quality. So pretty much a supervisor is your boss. They're the person ahead of you. They're the ones that make all the decisions, the protocols. They tell if you had a situation or an issue, that is the person you go to. Okay. If you look down at the bottom of page 153, it talks a little bit about leadership styles. Okay, so the method a supervisor uses to manage and communicate with people who directly report to him or her is called a leadership style. Okay, because if you think about it, supervisors are leaders, right? 3 basic leadership styles are laissez-faire, democratic, and or participatory, and autocratic. Each style has advantages and disadvantages. So if you turn to page 154, we're going to talk a little bit in detail about those different styles. Okay, so the first one is French, and I never took French in high school. I took Spanish, so bear with me. But I believe it means laissez-faire. And it is a French phrase meaning to allow to do, to let someone do something on their own. A laissez-faire leader gives responsibility to employees to carry out their duties without a great deal of direction or close supervision. All right, so this type of supervisor is basically saying, okay, this is what needs to get done, go do it. Okay, they don't guide you and they don't provide you with any direction on how to do that. They expect or surpass that you're going to perform these duties adequately. Okay. The next one is a democratic leader. A democratic leader encourages employees to participate in the management process. So this type of leader will seek your ideas and thoughts and give you an opportunity to use your problem-solving abilities. A democratic leader recognizes that everyone has good ideas, seeks the input of all workers, and exercises only a moderate degree of control over the employees. So I kind of like to think of the democratic leader as kind of in between, okay? They are providing some direction. They're listening to their employees. However, they're not telling them how to do things in order, okay? They're kind of like, almost like orchestrating their ideas. The next one is autocratic. And that is an in-charge person, okay, who exercises unlimited power or authority. He or she develops policies, procedures, defines and assigns tasks, generally dictates how work will be accomplished. Autocratic leadership is associated with government offices and the military. I personally don't think autocratic has any place in healthcare. Do you think it's going to go over well with fellow employees? Probably not. I'm thinking most of the time in healthcare, it's the democratic leadership or the laissez-faire. There might be some times though, where we need to get some autocratic type leadership involved, right? Especially like when the pandemic first hit, nobody knew what to do. So obviously you might want to take charge. The supervisor might want to take charge and do an autocratic leadership style on that part. If you look at page 156, it says that what your supervisor expects of you. This is just fairly common knowledge, okay? You need they need to have accountability, okay? You are assigned tasks, you are assigned a job and responsibilities, and the supervisor will hold you accountable for those things. If you don't get those things done, then they're going to have a little chat with you, okay? Dependability, being dependable, coming to work on time, being prepared, okay? These are huge in healthcare. Loyalty. When you are loyal, you demonstrate your allegiance and commitment to your supervisor and to the company. All right? I'm not saying that you're pledging your life or death to the clinic that you work at. However, your employer is going to want some sort of loyalty from you, right? Because if you're loyal to that company, that means that you want to work there, that you want to share your ideas, you want to make it better, you want to improve that clinic, okay? Enthusiasm. Many supervisors believe that the best employees are those who show enthusiasm for their work, all right? They don't want to look at you and feel like this job is a chore for you. They obviously want their employees to be happy, right? If we have happy employees, then we have employees that work hard and they're dependable and they're accountable, okay? So if they see that you are not very enthusiastic about your job, it's going to reflect poorly. And like I said in this past chapter and this chapter, negativity. Adaptability. Healthcare is chaotic. It's ever evolving and changing, okay? So we have to adapt. If you're one that does not like change and you like a set schedule, you're going to have to really let go of that because healthcare is constantly changing, especially in clinics. You might have a schedule before you leave that night, and then that next morning you come in and the schedule has completely changed, okay? So we have to prep and prepare as best as we can and just roll with the punches. All right, if you look at the bottom of page 157, it talks a little bit about some special situations that supervisors might take into account, okay? So sharing your ideas, right? Because our supervisors want to make sure that they're providing the best work environment for their employees. Because like I said, happy employees produce a better product. Okay, so with some of the on-job experience, you will have ideas worth sharing. Don't hesitate to share them, right? Maybe you notice that the placement in the exam room is out of whack and you want to change it up. Go to your supervisor. They might validate that and say, hey, that would make a great, efficient workflow. Or, I mean, it could be anything. As long as you've researched it and you have the proof to back it up and show that it will be efficient, I'm sure your supervisor would love to listen to those ideas. Calling attention to problems and alternative solutions. Supervisors don't like to be surprised. Heck, most people don't like to be surprised, okay? And they want to be made aware of problems that arise. Why? Because if it's a problem, and let's say, for instance, you didn't say anything, you didn't tell your supervisor, and then it ended up a patient got hurt or a fellow coworker got hurt because you did not say anything, it's not in your best interest, right? Because the supervisor is going to be like, well, you knew about this, why didn't you say anything? Okay? If you look at the top of page 159, it says, making your supervisor aware of a problem. And it just gives some examples. It says, do your homework before approaching your supervisor. The facts you present should be specific, documented, and accurate. Right? You want to sound educated. You want to sound like you really believe in this and you researched it. Another one, number 8, is thank your supervisor for the time and attention. If appropriate, request a follow-up to the conversation. That's very professional. It's very professional because time is valuable. Your time is just as valuable as the supervisor's, but you want to thank them, right? You want to thank them for taking the time to listen to your concerns and your problems and that they were looking into them. All right, at the bottom of page 159, we're going to talk a little bit about what to expect of your supervisor. Okay, so it kind of goes both ways. So a clear performance expectations. Your supervisor has the responsibility to talk with you about your position and communicate clearly in detail what is expected of you. You know how I said earlier, supervisors don't like to be surprised? You as medical assistants and employees don't like to be surprised either. Nobody wants to take a job that they were told one description, but then when they started the job, it was completely different. Okay, so we expect that out of our supervisors, to be honest about the job description. And what is a job description? Well, a job description typically identifies the specific duties and responsibilities of your job, the skills and competencies required, the equipment and tools to be used, the outcomes and contributions to the organization your position is to achieve, reporting information, who your supervisor is, and the relationship of your position to other positions in the company. You should be given an opportunity to ask questions about any part of the job description and your responsibilities, because you're the one that's going to be working it, right? So you need to be asking all the questions. And now is not the time to be that passive, we talked about in chapter 6, be that passive communicator, right? I'm not saying you need to be aggressive, but that time when you're talking about your job description is the time to be asking all the questions, because you want to know what job you're getting yourself into. Okay, and then on the bottom of page 160, we're going to talk about performance evaluations and recognition. Okay, so you have the right to a fair and honest evaluation by your supervisor on a regular schedule. This may be done on a formal basis. Some companies have annual performance reviews. During this time, they will review your work, and sometimes they will provide raises if they deem it's fit. And sometimes some clinics do it where it's like every 6 months, every 3 months. It just depends on the company that you work for. You have the right to know if you are meeting your supervisor's expectations, and if not, what you need to do to improve your performance. I do want to point out, this is not the time to be negative. We have to accept constructive criticism. Nobody is perfect, okay? If you go into one of these performance evaluations and your supervisor is basically telling you there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing that you could work on, then that's probably never going to happen. Why? Because everybody has something they need to work on, whether it be very little or very major, okay? But during the performance evaluations, this is where we need to take constructive criticism and not backlash, because that provides a negative environment for us, not only for us, but for our supervisors. Okay? And then the last thing we're going to talk about is some recognition, right? You have the right to be recognized for your strengths and contributions to meeting company goals. This does not have to be done during a performance evaluation. Sometimes it's just nice to be randomly told, like, hey, you're doing an excellent job, or hey, I really liked how you roomed that patient the other day, or hey, I really liked your professionalism on the phone, okay? You will have a lot of supervisors that do those things, and they're being very honest about it. They saw that you did something very good, and they want to recognize you for it. If you receive a compliment from your supervisor, your first word should be thank you, right? Say thank you with sincerity and eye contact. If appropriate, acknowledge the contribution of coworkers who also should share the compliment or praise, right? If you know that for a fact it wasn't just you alone that performed that duty, speak up. Say that, hey, thank you so much for acknowledging that with me, but also my coworker here was a part of that as well, right? Share the recognition, because everybody likes just a little bit of positivity. All right, if you turn to page 163, we're going to talk about communicating electronically, which nowadays is all we ever do. Nobody writes on a piece of paper anymore. It's all computerized. Hello, I'm giving a lecture on the computer, right? It's all electronic nowadays. So the first thing we're going to talk about is email. I'm pretty sure you all know what an email is, but if you didn't, it's a system for sending and receiving messages electronically over a computer network. So when we send out an email, at our work environment or our workplace, we have to think of certain things, okay? We got to organize our thoughts, all right? We can't just send out an email like with slang terms and emojis and all this fun stuff, okay? We have to really think about our thoughts. We have to sound professional, right? Because we're in a work environment. So we need to organize our thoughts. Before you key anything, think about these questions. Why am I writing this? What exactly do I want to happen because of the message? Will the reader understand this? If you can't answer these questions, you are not ready to send this message. Okay, so if you cannot answer these questions, you really need to think back, like, why am I doing this? Okay, the subject line should be effective. Everyone gets a lot of mail. So to make sure your message is read, include a subject line that clearly describes the content. Like, for instance, it gives an example here. Friday dinner meeting canceled. Is the budget set? If you just put budget, your coworker, if they get that email, they might think it's spam. They might think it's nothing important. It's not relative to it's not time sensitive. Okay, so you want to make sure that in your subject line, you are basically saying what you need to say. Keep the message brief and to the point. Nobody's got time to read a novel for an email, okay? Be conscious of the tone. It's very hard with electronics to convey a tone, right? Because you might think that you sound happy, but it is actually reading off as kind of angry, okay? That's why I went to the seminar one time, and that's why we use a lot of emojis with texting, is because we want to convey the tone of our text, all right? Same goes with email, all right? You got to be very careful on how you use your words. Be informal but not sloppy. Use short paragraphs, blank lines between each paragraph. Proofread the message before sending, all right? You want to sound professional and educated. Proofreading and grammar checking is crucial, okay? Make sure attachments are attached. You don't want to go and send an email thinking that you say, see attached, and then when they open it, there's no attach. And then they have to email you back and say, I didn't get anything, and then it's back and forth, back and forth. Include a signature block. And then also, do not send inappropriate messages. That should just be a gimme. And do not include usernames, passwords, credit card information, or social security numbers, because we all know electronics are hackable, okay? We don't want that information out there. There's a couple of things about email etiquette. So whenever you receive an email, you need to respond quickly. Be considerate. So use please and thank you, like you would be talking to a normal person. And then also consider your file size, okay? Do not attach unnecessary files to the email. You need to be short and sweet and to the point, okay? Because nobody got time for that. Nobody got time to read a novel and then look at a bunch of attachments that have no rein on what you're trying to convey to your recipient. Be sparing with group emails. So I'm sure you guys have all experienced that with the group text, okay? You get a group text, and then the next thing you know, you got those couple people that just send text after text after text. Your phone's blowing up, okay? It's the same with emails, okay? So just be considerate. If you know you're in a group messaging system, make sure that you're only responding 1 or 2 times, and when you're responding, make it count. Make sure that the information is valued. Do not send chain letters, virus warnings, or junk mail. Avoid using high priority, urgent, or important flags unless it's absolutely necessary. And avoid using abbreviations or emojis, okay? Because it's really not professional. Text messaging and voicemail, kind of the same thing applies, all right? So if you look on page 167, text messaging, you need to keep it brief. Be patient. Remember that text messages are not private, okay? And then text at appropriate times. This is big, okay? You do not want to, you want to text somebody within normal business hours unless you've already spoke with the recipient and they told you, text me anytime, okay? But let's be real about this. Do you really want to send them a text at 3 in the morning, okay? So I like to use the old adage of I'm going to do it business hours. The latest I might text is maybe 7 o'clock, but I try to be respectful, and I will also speak with the recipient before I send text messages to ensure that they're okay with me sending late messages. Okay? And voicemail. So if you are leaving a voicemail, all right, make sure before you even call somebody, there is always the probability that they won't answer and you will have to leave a voicemail. Be prepared. Think about what you're going to say in case you do have to leave a voicemail. All right, so voicemail, you need to record a clear, concise, and professional message. Nobody wants ramblers, okay? Don't be rambling on and on and on, all right? Because that recipient is going to be listening to that and they're going to be like, okay, I think I got the information. Maybe I missed something, okay? Leave clear, professional messages for others. Repeat your contact information. Sometimes we don't realize it, but we talk rather quickly, especially in voicemail. And if you're talking rather quickly and you're providing your callback number or whatever, and they're trying to write it down, they might have not got all the numbers, or maybe they wrote it down, but they want to confirm that they wrote it down correctly. That is why you should always repeat your contact information to ensure a callback. All right, re-record your message if you don't feel like you have communicated clearly, and then after an absence, check your messages. This should become a habit, but a note by your phone that says, check phone messages. Someone has left a message. He or she is waiting for a response. Not returning calls in a timely fashion is rude and unprofessional. Okay, so that in turn is chapter 7 with communications. We learned a lot today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a good day.